In this series, we will be reading the lore text about the Age of Sigmar, the setting from the Soulbound RPG Corebook. This episode covers the overviews of the first 5 realms: Azyr, Aqshy, Chamon, Ghur, and Ghyran. The mortal realms: Azyr, the realm of heaven. Azyr, the realm of heavens, has as many names as the stars in its celestial canopy. Known as the Peerless Kingdom, or the Fortress of the Lost by humans, bastion by the Duarden exiles of the fallen Khazalid Empire, and Hearth Realm or Star Throne by some of the elves, Azyr is the pinnacle of the realms. It is a realm where snowy mountain peaks scrape the firmament, and shimmering auroras dance eternally on the horizon. Its days are brightly lit by brilliant Hish, with gleams nearby within the etheric void. Its nights would be grim and flickering due to the burning orb of malice and the dark moon Daroth, if not for the clear light of the high star Sigindil, which shines on high above the God King's mighty works. Greatest of all cities in all the mortal realms is gold-inspired Azyrheim, the stellar metropolis at the heart of the realm celestial. First and eternal, Azyrheim has grown steadily since its founding in the Age of Myth. Its citizens are a blend of the civilized and the barbaric, not unlike the God King who rules them. Some of them trace their origins back to the oldest of humanity's great nations, and they are not alone in their claims to grand histories. After the Battle of Burning Skies, Azyrheim took on refugees from across the mortal realms, from every species and countless cultures, as they poured into Azyr. All gathered beneath the God King's aegis as he sealed the gates of Azyr against the forces of the dark gods. All the battered survivors brought their own fierce drives, not to conquer, but to reclaim that which had been stolen. Since the unleashing of Sigmar's tempest, Azyrheim has once more welcomed travelers from across the realms, though all are carefully vetted and watched for any trace of corruption. The citizens of Azyrheim are like no others in the realms. On any street in the city, you will find tattooed warriors rubbing shoulders with perfumed aristocrats who talk with scholars deeply learned in a staggering array of obscure lores, even as merchants haggle about them in 100 dialects over beasts, produce innumerable services, and more esoteric goods. Far above Azyrheim spins the massive fortress ring, the Sigmarabulum, around the husk of the world that was. It holds the vault celestial, former home of the pantheon of order. Within it, the forges of the 6 smiths never fall silent, for it also contains the anvil of apotheosis, where the stormcast eternals are painstakingly forged. Of all the mortal realms, Azyr was least directly affected by the necroquake, but its ramifications have been massive upon the folk of Sigmar. Still, none of them are daunted, for a single goal drives them all. It's said that Azyr's strength lies not in its weapons or its skill at arms, but in its people. Aqshy, the realm of fire, known to many as the Bright Realm. Aqshy is a volatile land of raging passions and simmering aggression. Here the hammer of chaos fell hardest and most often. It's a realm ever in motion. From the Brimstone Peninsula to the Felstone Plains, Aqshy is a splintered realm, broken into dozens of continents over millennia. Like a spreading fire, it grows with every passing century, swelling to fill the limits of its realm sphere. Hot, gusting winds race eternally across dry grasslands, and volcanic mountain ranges belch clouds of smoke. Still, one can also find snow-capped peaks in Katha, far to the north, and sweltering jungles along the coast of the searing sea. Since the coming of chaos, hundreds of civilizations have fallen in the Bright Realm. Among them, the archdomini of the Aglar-Aqshy Empire, the Kells of Ekron, and the Vitrolian vassal kingdoms of Cinder. The few remaining tribes are scattered nomads or marauders, many of whom dedicated themselves to the blood god when Sigmar abandoned them. The Flamescar Plateau's nomadic tribes and roving kingdoms try to carry on the ancient traditions of Iridian and Capillaria, but few survived the fall of those lands to pass on their lore. Batar, the legendary floating city, held aloft by magic and alchemy, rules the skies above the ocean of swords, a trader's armada, and the last redoubt of a once great nation. On the boiling oceans, the Crescent Sea's buccaneer lords gather their strength, preparing for the day they might reclaim the shards. New cities have arisen on the ashes of the old. Anvilgard, Tempest's Eye, Brightspear, and Hallowheart are all beachheads of Azyr's advance into the Great Parch. But Hammerhall Aqshy is the greatest of them. One half of the twin-tailed city, it's the largest of all Sigmar's cities, save Azyrheim, and serves as the nerve center of Sigmar's efforts in the lower realms. Connected to its twin, Hammerhall Ghura, by the massive Stormrift Realm Gate, Hammerhall Aqshy is a heavily fortified metropolis. Towering bastions and numerous artillery batteries fixed on the windswept ashlands surround it. Mobile cogforts, manned by Free Guild soldiers and Ironweld personnel, roll through the ashen dunes, expanding the city's defensible perimeter at a steady rate. Aqshy was the site of Sigmar's first strike against his ancient foes, and as such, it has long had a hold on the Azyrites' imagination. The merchant princes of Azyr and Shaish do daily battle over the firesilk trade with the far traders of Batar, even as Caradron magnates seek to buy up mining and territorial rights in newly reclaimed lands. Explorers, sages, and treasure hunters flock to Aqshy, seeking to claim not just its natural resources, but more esoteric prizes lost in the dust and ash of fallen empires. The sulphurous lands are home to more than just humans, however. From placid salamanders farmed in the humid lowlands to bellicose magmadroths prowling the volcanic slopes, the Bright Realm is home to a diverse collection of creatures, clans, and lost souls. The Fire Slayers are native to Aqshy, and many hundreds of lodges, including the Vostarg, the Volturung, and the Hermdar, remain scattered across the realm. Barakkal, the City of Ashes, a Caradron trading post, floats above the Charwind coast near Anvilgard. Many dispossessed, including the Firewalk clans, have returned in recent years, seeking to reclaim their ancient holds. Others make new lives for themselves in the caustic peaks or the bright mountains, where new copper and silver mines can be dug to replace the old. Elven princelings have settled in cities such as Tempest's Eye, and the Skyhelm peaks draw many in search of the eggs of swift-feather hawks. Nomadic wanderers haunt the resinwood coast, hoping to forge a new kingdom among the semi-fossilized forests there, even as they fend off the enraged, blood-bound tribes that claim the region as their own. An enclave of the enigmatic Idoneth Deepkin, known as the Fuithon, lurk in the waters off the Mordacious Sound, and are said to raid the coastlines there for souls and slaves alike. Huge swathes of Aqshy are held by the forces of chaos, and many of the lands of the Great Parch are heavily contested. The Goratide of Korgo's Cool is an ever-present threat to all in the realm, with countless tribes of bloodbound scattered across Aqshy. The Slaneshi potentate, Havaquild, headsman of Thurn, has left a wide trail of destruction from the crackling coast to the riven depths to please their absent god. The forces of Tzeentch seem determined to seize Esperia from its legendary bright mages, and the subtle war there never ceases. From the warrens beneath the snow peaks to the swamps of the Vitae deltas, various petty Skaven warlords vie for influence, playing their verminous games of deceit and death, even as they wage war on the returning Duardin. The servants of the dark gods are not the only threats to the Great Parch at large. South of the Leaping Tongues, the charismatic Ogor, Firebelly known only as the Ashfoot, leads a massive warglut on a hunt for the father of all Magmadroths, devouring any who crosses their path. The dreaded wraith fleet of the vampire corsair Varkos Varaktyr has rampaged across Aqshy for thousands of years. With the coming of the Necroquake, Varaktyr has begun regularly launching massive raids across the Great Parch, his spectral galleons striking settlements hundreds of miles from any sea in a storm of blood and terror. Despite the many threats and the internal divisions that plague it, Aqshy burns bright, an unfaltering flame, holding back an encroaching darkness. Chamon, the realm of metal. Chamon, the realm of metal, where transience is the only certainty. A realm ever in flux, not simply expanding as Aqshy does, but swelling and shrinking with unseen cosmic tides. Unlike the other realm spheres, Chamon's many lands do not exist as anything resembling a central plane or disk. They are a series of wildly varied subrealms which drift within Chamon's firmament, linked by portals and undiscovered mystical bonds. Chamon's domains are imminently mutable, changing fleetingly, melding and breaking apart in a slow dance that has forced its inhabitants to continuously adapt. The lands that float closest to the verdant core, including the great spiral crux, have pure water and edible greenery. But the further away from this center, the less habitable the realm becomes. Trees develop glinting, brassy, or silvery bark, and water becomes acidic. Liquid gold rains from gleaming clouds, and the air becomes heavy with iron particles. Even the wildlife changes. Shimmering flocks of metallic songbirds carve iridescent trails across the sky, as rust-furred predator constructs stalk iron-limbed herd beasts through copper grasses. Opinions vary greatly as to reasons for Chamon's unique nature. The metallurgic sages of the Crucible Prongs claim that the realm's unpredictability is because of a natural entropic process. In contrast, the philosophers of Alum insist that Chamon is gripped by a celestial malady millennia in the making, and that it could be stopped or even reversed if the proper alchemical ritual is applied. To survive their ever-shifting realm, Chamon's people learned long ago to adapt and embrace the unknown. Indeed, many learned to take advantage of the fluid nature of the realm. In the Swarf Isles, for instance, oxide hunters scrape the air and the earth with alchemical nets, collecting the exotic hues that stain their surroundings. Amidst the heights of the impassable peaks, ether merchants sift precious metals from the clouds to be purified and sold on to foreign merchants. Professional beast hunters stalk giant, ripple-scaled pterosaurs in the humid jungles of the south, while pirates from Bandit's Point ply the straits of Hellsilver in craft cultivated from the shimmering reefs of coral that grow along the coast. Whatever its cause, Chamon's changing nature appeals to the chaos god Tzeentch, who chose the realm of metal for his fiefdom during the Age of Chaos. Chamonite, Chamon's quicksilver realmstone, grants alchemical power to cause arcane transformation to any that can discern its secrets. Such a prize was irresistible to the changer of the ways. The signs of Tzeentch's influence are present throughout the outskirts of the realm, and despite the constant efforts of the forces of order, continue to spread even within the central spiral crux. Just prior to the Age of Chaos, much of Chamon's central lands were twisted and broken by a god beast called the Lode Griffin. The magnetic beast is thought to have been drawn by the masses of Chamonite, though many believe the architect of fate had a hand in its choice of lair. After numerous failed attempts to rid their lands of the Lode Griffin, 9 ethomancers were sent to slay the beast. Unbeknownst to all, one of the ethomancers was one of the 9 infamous gaunt summoners of Tzeentch in disguise. While their ritual killed the Lode Griffin, its death scream tore open a portal to Tzeentch's realm. The resulting invasion of demons tore the lands of the spiral crux apart. Many great kingdoms perished soon thereafter, as Tzeentch worked a mighty spell to rain transmutive warpfire from the skies. Unnatural things were born of that rain and changed Chamon's lands forever. The great kingdoms of the spiral crux fought for as long as they could, but many were broken by the machinations of Tzeentch's servants, and a few by their own hubris. The rest went into hiding in the coming of Sigmar's tempest. Not all survived, but remnants of the once great kingdoms still exist and have begun to reclaim their former glory in the aftermath of the Realmgate Wars. The alchemists of the Viscid, Flux, practice their mercurial craft again, while new clockwork automatons from Prosperous walk the streets of the free cities and the legendary bladesmiths of Adren sing once more over their liquid core blades. Many of Chamon's Duarden clans survived Tzeentch's onslaught by seeking sanctuary in the skies, abandoning the cursed demon-haunted ground. These clans grew to become the technologically advanced Kharadron overlords, one of the most potent political and military bodies in all of the mortal realms. Directed by their famous or infamous code, the skyports of the Kharadron are governed by an Admiral's Council, made up of the most successful officers from their varied fleets, but ruled by their need for ether gold. When the Garrick Tormund, Great Gale of Death, the Kharadron name for the necroquake, swept over Chamon, the great ether gold streams that the various skyports had laid claim to were utterly disrupted. While other folk may have been daunted, the Kharadron have freely embraced the Gorak Drek, the great venture, and, sensing new opportunities for profit and glory, have sailed into many skies formerly unknown to their airships in search of them. Tzeentch, ever greedy, has not loosened his grip upon the lands of gold. Teeming flocks of Zongor haunt the coasts and forests, and hordes of demons claim the skies of the outer realm, waging an unending war with the Kharadron fleets. The newly established cities are not free from the shadow of the great conspirator either, as Tzeentchian cults work to bring the newly established order crashing down. Many who dare to travel to Chamon come to exploit the lands of gold's fabled treasures, or reclaim that which was lost. Ironweld agents seek the ruins of Cypria, somewhere in western Chamon, looking to rediscover the secrets of its fabled clockwork legions. The Collegiate Arcane have come to plumb the alchemical knowledge of the realm's metallurgic sages and alchemical magi. Some dispossessed Duarden return to search for their ancestral holds, but seldom find naught but ash and ruin. Most fortune seekers find only death, consumed by demons, warped by some piece of chaos-touched landscape, eaten by shark-like birds that swim through the air, or engulfed by burning fish that descend from flickering clouds. Since the coming of the necroquake, deadwalkers haunt many of Chamon's realms, and plagues of tottering, bloodless corpses have forced Vindicarim's authorities to quarantine that city's slums. The spirits of the fallen are said to gather in great numbers in shattered Anvrok, led by a being called the Silver Maiden. The Stormcast believe she is no friend to Nagash. Indeed, some say that she may be what remains of the legendary bladesmith, Selimnis, though that doesn't make her, or her ethereal cohort, any less deadly to outsiders. Much of Iaddah has been seized by the Gloomspite Gits, who spill out into the surrounding lands in ever-increasing hordes. The Grots are led by the brilliant, but crazed Skragrot, the self-titled Loon King. Skragrot rules a great and ever-increasing number of tribes from a Lurklair beneath Scrappa Spill, said to rival Hammer Hall in size. Despite Chamon's dangers, it's still thought to be a land blessed with riches. The majority soon learn that the lands of gold are fit for naught but desperate fools. Ghur, the realm of beasts, a contiguous landscape of jagged mountains, shadowed forests, and vast expanses of savanna. Ghur is a realm of primordial majesty. Predatory and feral, the lands of the realm stalk one another like beasts, surveying travelers as prey. Land masses continuously shift and prowl. The earth ruptures, causing chasms to open and swallow everything for leagues. Mountains duel with glacial slowness, grinding one another down, and each land will devour its neighbors if it can. Is it any wonder, then, that Ghur's native fauna is unlike any other in the realms? For here, every beast is both predator and prey. Great herds of Ghurok, thundertusks, and woolly shaghorns stampede across the plains, devouring the tough grasses and stripping the bark from the few trees. They, in turn, are hunted by roving packs of predators, such as rock lions, mournfangs, or brachytors. These beasts are themselves stalked and slain by roving bands of aurochs, beastmen, ogres, gargants, and the human tribes that haunt the wildest reaches of the realm. More than any other realm, Ghur is the land of the auroch. Primitive tribes of bone splitters hunt great beasts in the hills and plains, as armored ironjaws seek battle wherever it can be found. Many of the ogre's maw tribes call Ghur home, and their maw paths carry them from the heartlands to the realm's edge and back, stripping the hinterlands of life in their ravenous pilgrimage. Alfrostons are the most feared of the Beastclaw raiders, for where they travel follows the harsh bite of the Everwinter in their wake, a lingering season of cursed, unnatural cold that can remain for centuries. Since the death of their sire, Behemoth, many of the enormous gargants of Ghur have grown smarter, fiercer, and far more inclined to pillage. Many human tribes live in Ghur, with settlements and kingdoms of all shapes and sizes dotting the ever-shifting realm. The hunter tribes of the Great Coil regularly move vast haunches of meat via daring trade pioneers. The tree striders of the gnarlwood live and hunt high amidst the deadly questing branches of their perilous forest, which holds strange species without number alongside valuable medicinal plants. On the amber steppes, the Vermtai horse nomads follow the great worms, plundering the detritus of the townships and cities left in their wake. The famed crawling city rests atop the back of Shugol, mightiest of the great worms, who has crawled across the amber steppes for generations uncounted. The folk of the crawling city have endured the assaults of chaos, skaven infestations, and now the imposition of foreign rule by newly arrived Azyrite administrators. Despite all, they have flourished into a prosperous mercantile hub. Mightiest of Sigmar's cities in the realm of beasts is the great port city of Excelsis, on the coast of Tusks. Excelsis is dominated by the massive Spear of Malice, a mountainous shard of Sigmarite from the world that was, which rises from the center of the bay the city was built around. Its currency is based on chips of the prophetic stone called glimmerings, which can be used to glean flashes of prophetic insight. And much of Excelsis' prosperity comes from reading current and future events derived from the spear. Excelsis and its nearest neighboring city, Iseland, are both home to thriving Elven communities dominated by the Scourge privateers. Ghur's monster-filled deeps provide excellent fodder for the corsairs to ply their bloody trade, and numerous fleets prowl the coast of Tusks and the Clawing Sea. The Dark Powers first came to Ghur via the gore hunts of human tribesfolk that worshipped masks of the blood god. Khorne and the Horned Rat both found the beast realm to their liking. But the predatory realm has been far more of a challenge than either bargained for. Certainly, rampaging armies of Bloodbound have found blood and skulls aplenty in Ghur, with many tribes wholeheartedly turning to worshipping the Drinker of Souls. In jungles south of the Heartlands, warlords raised skull pyramids amidst the ruins of ancient kingdoms to the blood god, and whole portions of the realm were overrun with colossal and ever-growing herds of beastkin. The Skaven of Clan Rictus established hidden military outposts in many lands, the better to launch lightning raids for plunder and slaves. Yet the greenskin hordes and the other forces of destruction, for all of their combative nature, hold savage Gorkamorka first in their feral hearts, and have not, in the main, turned to Khorne. Chaos stalks the plains of Ghur, but is stalked in turn by everything in the realm, and its grip is far more tenuous here than the Dark Powers would ever admit to. The situation has grown more volatile still, for with the coming of the Necroquake, the dead became as dangerous as the living, and Ghur can readily boast corpses in abundance. The Ossiarch Bone Reaper legionnaires have set up their ivory citadel, but have suffered the indignity of having some of their members snatched up and taken away to become the fodder for gnawing beasts. West of the Heartlands, great, rotting flocks of corpse birds have been spotted circling the ruins of forgotten cities of Lendu, as if the folk of the beast realm didn't have enough to contend with. The predatory spells of Ghur are particularly deadly, apparently possessed of far greater sentience than such invocations show in other realms. Only the most skilled or crazed spell hunters risk Ghur's hinterlands in search of such. Ghyran, the realm of life, known as the Jade Kingdoms, Ghyran is burgeoning with all forms of life. Gighemoths, massive nearly beyond mortal reckoning, bestride the lowlands. Yet they are nothing in size compared to the nomadic, sentient, wandering mountains. Infinitesimal spores dance on the breeze, bringing swift growth to even the most inhospitable rocky isles. Verdant and inexorable, Ghyran's growth is constantly creeping across the landscape. Forest canopies scrape the skies, with undergrowth so lush and fertile that traversing it is almost impossible for those that don't know the realm's ways. Clouds of insects can blacken the horizon, even as lumbering herds of Gyrok cover the oceans of grass, grazing for as far as one can see. The air pulses with the very heartbeat of creation, and at the wind's turning, one can hear the roaring challenges of beasts, and all too often now, the creak of Sylvaneth war groves on the march. Unlike Chamon, where changeability is the only constant, Ghyran's lands follow their own unending cycle of seasons, which can vary across the realm and neighboring lands. Life swells and abates continuously with the turning of dozens of potential seasons, each with its own place and purpose. Alarielle, the Everqueen, has made her home within the realm of life since the Age of Myth. She has become all but one with the Jade Kingdoms, her own health waning and waxing with the realms. It is here where she planted the first seedlings of the Sylvaneth. Alarielle's firstborn spread throughout Ghyran in the Age of Myth, and both Ghyran and the Sylvaneth thrived, until the withering season, the coming of the plague, when the chaos god Nurgle laid claim to Ghyran. The endless cycles of life called to Nurgle. The Lord of Corruption desired Ghyran for his own. When the dark powers moved against the realms, Nurgle's forces besieged the realm of life, and its harmonious cycle of rebirth was tainted by the abominable fecundity that is the Plague Father's gift. Forests slewed into miasmic marches, mountains crumbled into festering sinkholes, and even the rain itself was tainted with disease. During the withering season, the Sylvaneth, elves, and human tribes loyal to Alarielle fought a grueling battle, but it was not enough. The plague god's forces and his Skaven clan, Pestilen's allies, were unstoppable. The humans fell to worshipping chaos, or died, and the elves destined to be known as the Wanderers fled by secret paths to Azyr. Only the Sylvaneth remained. Alarielle utterly despaired, retreating to the secret land of Athelward, leaving the Sylvaneth to continue their faltering resistance alone. All seemed lost, until the coming of Sigmar's tempest, until the Everqueen's rebirth, where she emerged from a soul pod steeped in hero's blood and life sap in a glorious new war form. Her song, rekindled, called her people to a season of war. As the forces of Nurgle retreated, new settlements were raised on the Everspring swathe, most prominent being Hammer Hall Ghura, the realm of lives, half of the twin-tailed city, and the three so-called seeds of hope: the living city, the Phonicium, and Greywater fastness. Hammer Hall Ghura is a magnificent city of gigantic terraces, wrapped round a range of fertile mountains to form a staggeringly large series of concentric, arable fields. Vast beetles drag titanic plows through the rich soil and aid farmers in planting the lush ground. Enormous chains of iron oak reach up into the sky, where they hold mammoth drift tiles in place that regularly pour torrents of water down onto the rapidly growing crops below. The city proper is greatly decentralized, with portions of it existing on many different tiers. It is connected to Hammer Hall Aqshy by the Stormrift Realm Gate. In return for the rivers of lava that enable the city to burn off the fast-growing flora that threatens to overwhelm its defenses, Hammer Hall Ghura provides its sister city with a steady flow of foodstuffs and military support. Tension regularly festers between newly arrived Azyrites and the Sylvaneth, but for now at least, there is peace. The living city was the first of the three seeds. Grown by Alarielle's hand, No other settlement represents the strong alliance between the Everqueen and Sigmar so well. The living city dwells in perfect harmony with its surroundings. Here, Sylvaneth, humans, Stormcast, Duardin, and elves live together and fight as one. The city's name is a true one, for it's a settlement of living wood, shaped stone, and oaken streets. Indeed, during one particularly famous battle, the city awoke to crush besieging chaos forces with its buildings and streets. Phoenicium, the second seed, welcomes all folk, but has since become a stronghold of Elven culture. It was not so much founded as reclaimed. Elves of the Phoenix Temple discovered an ancient city covered in amber at the foot of the tree-like Arborean Mountain. The magnificent Phoenix children of the Phoenix flew over the trapped city, tailing arcane energies that set it free. Greywater Fastness is an industrial city, and though it is the final seed, it is ill-suited to Ghyran. Some of the best black powder weapons and artillery experts in all the realms come from it, but it has become a dark place. During the season of war, its lords unleashed their gunpowder arsenals and powerful magics against an overwhelming murderous horde of the plague god's forces, consisting of many cultists, demons, and beastmen without count. The seemingly unstoppable chaos beasts were destroyed, but the land about the city was rendered uninhabitable. Now called the Gulmir, it's a nightmare land stalked by vengeful and murderous treekin. Only delicate negotiations with Azyr ambassadors, and it is widely said the Everqueen herself, prevented the inhabitants from starving to death as the Sylvaneth besieged it. There is now only a single safe road to Greywater Fastness, and to step off it is to seek a swift demise. Vast portions of Ghyran remain firmly in the clutches of the dark powers. In the eastern swath, the land of Invidia is still Nurgle's own, and the blighted duchies fester, as they have for centuries. Their rulers, the corrupted knights of the Order of the Fly, continue to launch pox crusades in the name of the Lord of all flies. In Humidia, far to the south, the maggot lords wage war on the encroaching frontier townships of Azyr. The Skaven of clans Pestilens have burrowed into many deep places of Ghyran and continue to spread their loathsome diseases throughout the realm. Wherever Nurgle's power is pushed back, his rival Tzeentch delights in taking. Zongor warflocks are now said to prowl the foothills of the Nevergreen Peaks, west of Hammerhall Ghura. Strange cults proliferate within the human cities, seeking to incite violence between natives and non-natives. The necroquake washed over Ghyran, as it did all places, but the undead cannot readily exist in the realm of life. Dark spirits haunt many places and remain a terrible danger, but corporeal undead tend to swiftly join the mulch and are subsumed back into the cycles of life. The living spells of Ghyran, though, are a menace most fervently hope to avoid. Life finds a way. Ghyran persists, and the cycles of the many varied seasons continue. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this audio journey into the world of the Age of Sigmar. In our next episode, we will cover the overview of the remaining realms, as well as the realm of chaos.